wide.
Okay, we are recording. We're live on, Ms. Bach, I can see that our recorder is on. If you could turn off your camera, that'd be helpful. Just because of the screen. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you for all you do as well. That's perfect. Oh, you had it. Yeah, there we go. Wonderful.
Thank you,
Mr. McCollum, take it away.
Okay, welcome. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the September 20th, 2023 meeting of the Cohasset School Committee. Would all members who are present please indicate so in roll call. Mr. Carr.
Present.
Mr. Dial is not present. Ms. Leskey.
Present.
Mr. Kearney is not present. Mr. Kearney will be late from my understanding, and Mr. Dial is traveling on business, so I don't believe he'll be here. But who knows, maybe he'll appear virtually and surprise us. But with 3 members present, we do have a quorum, so we will call the meeting to order. Would all of those who are willing and able please rise for the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. We'll move right into public comment, which is a section of the agenda reserved for points of discussion or questions or comments that are not related to something that's already on the agenda. So if you have something that you want to say about something that's on the agenda, just wait until we arrive at that point in the meeting. Otherwise, please make your comment or raise your concern or question at this time using there is no one in the audience physically present. So I would imagine anyone who wants to do that is using Zoom. So you can utilize the Q&A feature on Zoom to do that. We'll give you a couple of seconds to do that. I was kind of droning on, giving people an opportunity to do that while I was talking. And usually one of our administrators are
You do not have any.
watching that.
We do not have any questions or
No
comments right now.
questions.
Okay, so we'll move right into the school updates because we don't have any invited guests tonight. So at this point, I would turn the meeting over to our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Patrick Sullivan. But before Dr. Sullivan goes, just note that Mr. Kearney appears at 6:32. I think he came in, so you just missed the roll call. So we'll give him credit for full attendance today.
Thank you.
Dr. Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. McClellan. We had I think, very successful recent 2 weeks since we've last met. Operationally, we're moving very smoothly. Had a wonderful open house last evening at the Osgood. It was amazing to see such happy kids and families, and the staff was wonderful. And I was so proud to show off them, the amazing teachers, and also the Principal Farrell, who does an incredible job, and the beautiful school. And I think families who saw that school for the first time hopefully are as impressed with the school as I am. I mean, it's a beautifully designed school, and it's a joy to see the kids and teachers interacting every day there. So that was wonderful. We have some upcoming open houses, which are exciting. We have Deer Hill tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. That should be wonderful. And then next week, we have Cohasset High School on Wednesday, the 27th at 6 p.m. And then Cohasset Middle School on Thursday, the 28th at 6 p.m. So we look forward to seeing families. Dr. Collinsville and I will be there to greet people.
Yes, you will.
as we
That was
typically
fun
are.
last night. Yep.
So it's I just think they're great evenings and great showcases for our schools. And we'll have more curriculum opportunities as we go at every level to really dive into the curriculum. In many cases that happens, but generally an open house is exactly how it sounds. It's a greeting. You get to see the teacher, you get to meet the teachers that work with your students, and you get to see the awesome school environment. Before I get into other updates, MCAS, as you know, has gone public from a kind of an overarching sense. And I'm really proud to say that our results are very positive. They're moving in a very positive direction. When Dr. Scollins gives her academic updates, we can be a little more specific, but just kind of beaming about this. As we looked at the data, it was nice to see that if you look at accountability and meeting our targets. So every school and every school district gets a set of targets that they're supposed to achieve. And then basically, depending on where you are, the race starts to meet those targets. And if you look, we made the second most progress as a school district in the whole state towards those targets. There was one charter school that had 100% meeting or exceeding those targets. We had 99. So we ran the fastest and the furthest from our individual starting line. And we also have a couple of schools of distinction, which in the years I've been here, we haven't had. So everything is looking good, and we're going to be really proud to present that data, knowing that we're not where we want to be yet, but I think everyone will be really proud of our progress. It's always good to say, believe me, it's good to say, and it's but we have a lot of work to do. But very, very good progress. Next, I just want to mention a couple of events that are happening on September 30th from 7 to 10. Our amazing Cohasset Education Foundation will have their third annual Fall Festival at the Paragon Boardwalk in Hull. That is from 7 to 10, and tickets are $100 a piece. And it goes to some amazing benefits for the schools in innovative learning and in our facilities. And, you've seen our Learning Commons, which at the Deer Hill, most recent sort of achievement, which I can't wait to have put in place, hopefully beginning of next month. That's what we're looking at. So the furniture's coming in already. So that's really great. And then on September 27th, we have a rescheduled Safe Harbor vigil, candlelight vigil, which was postponed. And that is from 6:45 to 7:40. We got, 6:45 to 7:45, and that is in the town common. That's September 27th. So, and just to mention, our sports teams continue to have great success at all levels, and we'll have some more substantive updates about their progress at our next meeting. And yeah, I'm really proud of the way things are progressing, and please, families, just if things aren't going well in any way, please reach out to your teachers and principals, and we're always here to support you as well. But the word on the street that I'm hearing is things are going well. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Scollins, if that's okay, for academic updates, because we have more substantive academic updates than my social updates.
Of course.
I did want to just say something to the schools, if that's okay, because we're going to go into academic. I was so impressed the other day, like we parked over here and it was packed for the football game. And just to walk around the school grounds, and you know me, I'm not afraid to mention anything, but I do want to mention some good stuff. So we walked around here and then the door was open over there. We went and saw the girls volleyball game, which is unbelievable.
Yes, they are.
It was packed, like, I don't want to say packed, but it was a good crowd. It went right into overtime and it was back and forth. And I know some of the girls, because I was with my daughter, Samantha and I were. And just to see, and Sue, thank you, the custodians are just taking such good,
They are.
you can just see pride in the school.
Yeah.
But I did also want to mention the furniture looks unbelievable. I don't know if anybody has seen the furniture over there at the, like, wow,
That
the
was the big-
tables.
It's in the
The
Oh, I haven't
lobby,
seen it.
well,
it's just,
after this, we'll take a walk and you can,
All right.
it just
You
came
gotta
in
see
last
it,
Thursday.
because I was
Really.
pleasantly surprised, like, how do I not know about this? My daughters are like, look at that.
It
it's
just
so
came.
Great. Yeah, I just wanted to mention.
So for folks, just to mention what Mr. Kearney is referring to is we have what we call our Skipper Cafe. It's typically designed for senior dining, but of course others enjoy it as well. It's upstairs, right outside of our gymnasium, and kind of abuts our cafeteria. Redesigned that area. We had a lot of student voice and student input in this, and now we have the furniture that we ordered up there, and then down below in the lower lobby, which creates a collaborative space.
Who ordered the furniture?
We did it.
Wow, that was, I mean.
Well, it was in part response to
Well,
the administration
was- right.
seeing that we had that study done in the schools.
Yeah,
And one thing was that there's a lack of like collaborative.
Collaborative spaces.
Space, and that was one reason why we looked at that, and
Yeah.
this is, so the administration was responding to that in part. And I guess it looks awesome. I haven't
Yeah,
seen it. I've been
yeah,
eagerly
I can't- I
anticipating
don't
it.
wanna ruin it,
And,
but-
you know, hats off to Principal Scott,
Yeah.
It was the high school.
his team.
Oh, good.
It's the student advisory.
You can plug in your,
They put it all together.
It's
yeah.
nice. And you know, that is something as we consider, we'll talk, you know, as we talk about capital and
Yeah.
what we can do.
Yeah.
Furnishings can make a huge difference.
Absolutely.
And if we get the right type of collaborative furniture, that can make a difference. So, I mean, you can't invent space, but you can use the space to its best capability. And I think that's a nice example.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I'm sorry,
This room's a nice example.
I did want to mention that that was awesome.
Yeah, thank
It's
you.
just a good experience.
I appreciate
felt
that.
so
And I
good.
appreciate you noticing the grounds too, because really, and that's a credit to Ms. Owen and her work with facilities and the custodians. I mean, you can even see if you look at this courtyard, the functioning gardens, and you can see the mulching along the sides. There's just a lot more, as you said, pride.
Yeah.
We've always had pride, but I think it's starting to show more in our facility. And you know, that's a lot credit to this team for advocating for the staffing we need to be able to make that happen. So thank you.
Jerry and I took a walk and we sat, I felt like I was like the three little bears,
The three bears. There's the three little pigs and the
Three
three
little
bears.
pigs, all right. We
The
sat-
bears aren't little.
But we sat on
The baby bear's
furniture,
kind of
Right, I had to sit in all the furniture, I'm like, all right, this one's good, this one's good, I'm like, let's try the couch over here.
Yeah,
It was
oh,
great.
yeah, the
It was
couches and, yeah. I
Nice.
just wanted to mention.
Students will enjoy that.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Thank you, Mr. Kearney. Dr. Scoggins.
There we go. So, good news. So, couple of nice accolades that we have. US World News and Report ranked Cohasset High School number 21 in the state. So very exciting and.
Remember, that's also 672nd in the country amongst 25,000 schools. And that puts us first in the South Shore.
Oh, very exciting.
And that includes engineering schools, technical schools. It's a very comprehensive list.
Well, which
Really
is in the top 3%.
Yeah.
So it's good. And then MCAS came out, and so if you've been watching the news or reading the papers, you can see that there's been a lot of press about it. When we look at our accountability rating, and later on in the next month or so, I'll do a more in-depth presentation so you understand exactly what that all is and how they get that formula. But for us to understand that we have a target that we must meet, and the Deer Hill Middle and High School altogether, we're 99% meeting or exceeding our targets. So we were number 2 in the state for that. So when you look at the whole, all of the school districts, it ranks them in the sense of who hit 100% of their target and who was 99. So we are the second, 99, and behind us are a couple schools at 97%. So that's a huge accomplishment. And also.
That's a district accomplishment.
District, yes. And then the high school and Deer Hill schools were schools of recognition. So 66 schools in the state of Massachusetts were recognized, and we have 2 of them.
What does that mean, Dr. Scoggins?
So it's either achievement and or growth. So we don't necessarily know what it is yet. We just know that we have a nice little strip on each of the schools that says school of recognition. So
We've never, since I've been here and
Yeah.
since this achievement's been here, we've never had that.
Yeah.
So that's great. We have
Yeah,
2.
right. And so the two ways are either achievement and or growth. So, but I don't know quite yet. So, but our growth is amazing. So I'm figuring that has a lot to do with it. So, and then just to get into some of the things that are going on, there's a lot of things going on, but we just targeted a couple. So we are creating curriculum guides. This is part of Brock Roberts, our director of data evaluation, data curriculum and evaluation. So he's really spearheading this with me. And so we are creating a committee of building leaders, district leaders, teachers, specialists, special education teachers to come together and create curriculum maps and guides. So curriculum maps will be something that will be front facing. We'll give an overview of what the expectations are for families to understand, just kind of an overview of what happens in a year in the content areas and grade levels. And then we will build those out, and those guides will be the teacher resources. We have bits and pieces here and there, but there's nothing comprehensive. We have our first meeting on October 12th, so we've had some nice interest in this. We've had several teachers from all the grades and all the schools have volunteered, so we'll be creating that. We'll be creating that group. Can't take everybody, but we'll have to be creating that. And we're going to actually take everybody off-site to do it because we need a nice big collaborative space. So we're going to actually like Keepers Building because it has good round tables for us to work at. And the reason we need to do this is, we need to align the curriculum vertically and horizontally. We want information for family and community so they can see what we're doing. Excuse me, it will help us look at our curriculum assessments and learning opportunities that will be aligned to the standards. It's a foundation for us to move into a more authentic learning assessments and then a base for our curriculum review cycle. So we're excited about the work and excited about all the people that really want to participate in it. Next is investigating history. And I talked to you about some of the grants I wrote. This was one of them with the history department and the elementary principal Sullivan. And so this is for grades 5 through 7. And this, the reason we're doing this is it supports our strategic plan by vertically aligning history and social studies in grades 5 through 6. And it focuses on culturally responsive and inclusive education. So we will be collaborating with the Situate Public Schools and the Hingham Public Schools this year. In fact, we have 2 days of training next week. And we will be working with Hingham in the following year. We will also be working with Tufts University, which the Department of Ed has contracted with them, and they're going to be the research team that's going to evaluate the program so they can better understand how the curriculum is working and how to support teachers and educators in using this program. And this is a DESE approved program, and we're really excited about it. The units that are going to be covered, you can see grade 5 is early colonization and the growth of colonies, grade 6 is human origins, grade 7 is Central and South Asia. So they are going to work together next week, and then over the course of the next couple of months, those units will be implemented. There's actually more than that. So teachers have the opportunity to dive in, but we chose to take kind of the long road and just do one of those. And then a letter will be going out to the families by next week, and so they can kind of have an overview of what's going on with the program and that they understand that we're working with Tufts also. And then we will be asking for feedback from families. That's not part of the grant process, but we'll be asking for families because we want to know what they think about it, because obviously they're going to see some of that.
Dr. Scollins, are there any, I can see some of the topics there, but are there any key structural or programming elements to the investigating history curriculum that you could just bullet point for us? Like what is it? What makes it different?
It so different?
If you're learning about human origins in grade 6 through some other curriculum, what would make a difference if you're doing it through investigating history?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's actually inquiry based. So it's very much driven by obviously the standards, but it's really put in the hands of the students. And so they're asked questions and not necessarily given the answers. They're given questions, and then they're given resources in order to make some of their to kind of make connections to what's happened in history. And one of the things that I found most fascinating by it was that when I sat in on a lesson, when I was at a conference over it, they had different people from the Revolutionary War. So it was a grade 5 lesson. They had different people from walks of life that I had never studied before. Because there's the typicals that you hear, right? Paul Revere and some of those names, but they had a whole bunch of other people. And the whole question was, did these people think that they were Americans? Because it was before the American Revolutionary War, and what was their perspective? And so we had someone from Holland, there was someone who was Muslim, and so they have the opportunity to read about all these different people and come up with their own conclusions about what was it like to be that, not just read this is what the story is. It's more around investigating, really diving in and making some of their own deductions about what the history was. So making them be thinkers, right? And then keep them moving in. So they're learning the history, but at the same time, not just from one point of view.
Is it also collaborative in nature,
It's
so,
very collaborative and there's a lot of writing with it too.
okay, so that's great.
Right, there's writing, there's drawing, there's all sorts of ways for students to show their learning.
Are
really
they
nice.
presenting their findings and certain things to the group or to the teacher, or is there a group submission to the teacher or something like that, where so everyone is able to learn from everyone else's efforts?
Yeah, because when I did it, I sat as if I was a student.
Okay,
And we were paired together. Each of us had a different person to investigate. Each group had the same 3 people that we were investigating, but we all read one particular person and then we talked about what we noticed, what were our
This is great.
wonderings, what were our conclusions. And it allows for debate and discourse, which
Right.
is what we want. So
We could perhaps give more information to the school committee as we get into it.
absolutely. And once the teachers
Could
go
make a nice
through it, yeah, I
presentation.
think once the teachers go
it
through
might
the
be a
training
good
too.
spotlight on learning, right, if we have the history.
Absolutely.
staff
That
come
and
in,
illustrative.
or social
Yeah.
studies staff come in, yeah,
Yeah.
right, it's just, the reason I'm asking these questions is because it seems to really align with what we're trying to do in terms of the product we're trying to deliver to the kids.
Correct.
And the way that we're trying to, the pedagogy that we're trying to support, right? So, and that's what I was guessing that's why I was asking the question. So it seems like really exciting.
It
Seems like a really good way of learning, like that, like more robust
Mhm.
experience that will leave them with more indelible memories of what they're
Yes.
learning, right?
Yes.
So, okay, that's why I was asking.
Yeah, I think I'm excited to see how it all comes, how it all,
Yeah,
Comes out.
yeah, I'm excited about
Yeah,
it. Seems
so
seems
it's
Are
really
they using
exciting.
primary sources for their sort of instead of a textbook?
correct.
or-
So
or
we do, right, and they did,
websites?
correct, it's all open. So all the materials, we are purchasing pre-printed materials just because it makes it easier. But even that is very minimal. They don't want worksheets in kids' hands. It's not a workbook. It's not like that at all. Will they have sheets of paper that have text on them? And maybe have places for them to write? Yes, but it's not a typical, it is not.
Well, I think some guidance is probably appropriate.
There
especially
is,
for,
absolutely.
like,
And there's
fifth
manuals
grade
for the
class.
teachers and all that kind of stuff, but it's not, it's not a turn the page and
Right,
read chapter,
Fill in the
read
blanks.
chapter 1.
Yeah.
It's not that. Yeah, It's really
interesting.
good.
Okay,
It's
well,
really
thanks.
exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so sorry to
No, it's a great
interrupt.
question.
Questions?
Illustrative math going well at the middle school. That was a grant also that was written, and it is a DESE approved mathematics program. Lots of schools around the area are using it. We are, again, it supports our strategic plan, replacing outdated resources, and then a vertical curriculum alignment with elementary Bridges math. So we've been doing Bridges for a couple of years. That's very inquiry-based, hands-on, and so is illustrative math. It's the same concept. I was in class the other day, and they had all the students up on the whiteboards, working in collaboration together, solving a problem. There were norms and protocols that they had to use in order to work together. So it was really terrific. So that is being implemented grades 5 through 7, just the core grade level. We're not doing the accelerated yet. That will be implemented next year. We thought it was best to just implement the program, everyone get the language, understand what it's all about. And then we're actually going to work with illustrative math and Better Lessons to create our accelerated pathways. And then that includes also professional development with Imagine Learning and Better Lessons. We've had some virtual, we've had some in-person. We had our teachers come in over the summer. I know I told you that, but they came in for 2 days and got a lot of work done. And then we are also contracting with Better Lessons. They are going to have virtual meetings with individual teachers throughout the year, every other week. They allow us a lot of time based on their schedule to help them as they learn this process. Because not only is it just has a different, it's not a turn the page either, so it's a very hands-on and it's a really higher order thinking. So we want to make sure that they're supported as they make that shift in pedagogy.
They're really excited about this too.
Really
It's been-
excited.
It's been
Yeah.
great to see that.
Yeah, the kids are so engaged. It's very exciting to see that. And these students, especially 6th grade in particular, have had Bridges for a couple of years now. So their transition has been very smooth. 7th and 8th grade is a little different because they didn't have Bridges as long. So the language part of it is different. Some of the terminology, but we're seeing really nice transition from 5th to 6th grade this year. They're picking up the language really.
But the important thing is that it's vertically aligned with.
Yes.
Correct.
So, there's going to be a ramp up period where you didn't have, the older kids that didn't have the Bridges curriculum,
Right. They had it a couple of years, but not to the
Not
extent.
curriculum, but now with this in place, these two in place,
Correct.
we should see more.
Right. And
Yeah.
this gives everyone too this year, if everyone, I'm sorry, I said, that should be a 6. Sorry, it says 5, 7, sorry about that.
Grade 6 through
6
7.
through 6 through 8. I apologize. I'll fix that later.
Oh.
But it's 6 through 8. It also allows everyone to get the program language this year, right? So
Mhm.
everyone will have a baseline of language, so that will help with the accelerated.
Dr. Scoggins, can you
Yeah.
clarify that third bullet? Just for everybody.
Implementation, yeah, the implementation is grades 6 through 8.
Yep.
Just for students at grade level. The accelerated that happens in 7th and 8th grade, that will be not until the following year.
Okay.
All right, we do have accelerated, that is happening, it's just not using illustrative math.
And what about the high school program? Is that just different because you're gonna have different levels, different courses? Like, so there's like, whatever, algebra, geometry, algebra 1, then trigonometry, algebra 2, calculus. So is that, so in other words, so there's vertical alignment with the LE and middle school
Right.
curriculum. Is there vertical alignment with high school, or is that a completely different programming?
So we are aligning to make sure that all the standards, and obviously everything's being
Of
met,
course,
but
yeah.
we are looking at how are we delivering the instruction?
That's what I mean.
Yeah, so what we thought, because we talked about this all in the curriculum review process last year with math, and we felt that getting the middle school to a place where they have all the language will allow us to then move into the high school. To do it all at once, we felt like those kids in the high school hadn't even had bridges, and so their expectations would be a bit bigger, it would be more of a challenge for them.
I think that's
So,
reasonable, yeah.
Yeah, so, but we do want to be looking at pedagogy and making sure that the kids or the students are having a more authentic, more hands-on experience and a more problem-based, inquiry-based experience. In those.
At the high
especially
school
at the
level
high
as well,
school level.
ultimately. Okay, so that is the ultimate goal. I was just curious. I didn't know if it was even possible.
Yeah,
but it sounds-
it's different. I'm in a bunch of groups to look at what people are doing. I'm paying attention to those high schools that are using illustrative math or what other programs they're using. I'm not sure we necessarily have to use a particular program. It's more about pedagogy, right? And how we and what we
That's,
do.
yeah.
So,
that's what I'm referring.
so I'm not really sure, but that's the work we're gonna do this year at the high school
Okay.
level. Okay, great question. And then a letter went home to the families in the beginning of the school year, just to explain it, and there'll be more information at open house. And as the teachers become more comfortable with it, also, they'll be able to speak more to it. I think toward the end of the year, it'll be nice for them to come and do some, give a presentation here, just so they can have it. And then again, we'll ask families for their input at the end of the year. Which will be nice. I just think it's important to see what families think. What does it look like at home for them? Are they seeing a difference of engagement with their students? Elementary literacy, so we are in the implementing Readers Workshop as good as year 1, Deer Hill year 2. When it comes to Readers Workshop, we have the Haggerty phonemic awareness in year 2 for our K2 students. And then the implementation of the revised dyslexia guidelines from DESE. So our universal screener is DIBEL 8, but we also use a variety of other assessments, including the iReady diagnostic. That's a partially meeting by DESE. We're using the data from it, but the DIBEL 8 is our actual universal screener that they've asked. for.
Should mention that the implementation of Readers Workshop, although it's year 1 for us, good, many teachers took part.
They did, yep. A lot of them were doing it last year. It wasn't that they weren't, and they were getting professional development. This has more to do with the fact that the materials didn't come out until October. So this is the
Right.
beginning of like a real year of, now we have all the materials.
But their practicing will make for a smoother transition.
Absolutely. We did a lot of work with small group instruction, in conferencing and conferring. Yeah, I think it's going to be nice. And there'll be a family letter explaining the new guidelines and our process that will be coming out in the next week or so. Family reports for iReady and DIBELS will be out October 6th. Additional assessments for students who are significantly below grade level will happen once all of our assessments are completed, our initial fall assessments. And then any students who are significantly below grade level will be notified of a plan within 30 days. One of the things that will be a little different about kindergarten, we'll talk more about this. I think I'd like to give more information later about how this is all going to work, but kindergarten, when they walk through the door, they're not expected to know everything yet. Our job is to be teaching them. And so we decided last year that we would make sure that we're really pushing in for the first couple of months. And when I mean push in, it's the reading specialist is in there, the OT, speech and language, they're in the classrooms because these students, is their first experience here. And we will, for lack of a better word, triage in the classroom so that we'll make sure that they're getting really good core instruction and there'll be small group instruction supporting students. We won't do any pull out of kindergarteners until after the second, the second assessment window, which will be in January, which makes sense. And then at that point, if students are still not making the progress we want, then we're gonna, you know, we'll be pulling them out. But probably most kindergarten students, there will be probably no pull out, but I can never say never, but that's not the model that we're gonna go with. And then people will be, just like they have in the past, they'll get a letter that says if they're being pulled out, and those for grades. 1 through 4 or 5, if they're getting pulled out of the classroom for reading support. And then we continue our partnership with Teaching Learning Alliance and that embedded professional development, which has been really successful. So any questions about that?
Any questions, Dr. Scoggins?
I have a quick question about that. Readers Workshop and Heggerty, are they both taught fully as sort of distinct programs, or are you merging the two? I'm mostly interested in whether or not Heggerty is being taught the way it's written as a full phonetics curriculum.
It is.
Okay,
Same as foundations.
same as Foundations.
Yes, so Readers Workshop is.
Right,
one
so
part
it's
of
not
it.
a hodgepodge or a sort
It
of,
is not.
okay, and that
It
those
is
two
not.
are actually existing as separate
Correct.
programs and both being
Correct.
taught it to their fullness.
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's a good question. Yeah.
Can I just?
Yeah.
That, Ms. Lusky kind of touched on one issue I wanted to ask you about.
Mhm.
The other one is just because it says you're like, so we're in year 2 though of the new ELA curriculum that we started to implement last year. Right? We implemented, we just began to implement a new approach last year.
So
Oh,
last
because we had Heggerty. We added Heggerty last year,
phonemic
the
awareness,
phonemic awareness. We had Foundations. That was
Phonics.
already there. So that's your phonics program.
foundations, phonics,
Right. And then,
Heggerty, phonemic awareness.
Right.
and then Readers Workshop that's where it's more around, the reading components around comprehension, small group instruction, explicit instruction, your mini lessons.
And that's our approach to comprehensive literacy. So,
Okay.
so that's why I wanted to make it clear, because probably some Osgood families saw this happening last year. And that's why I made the point
Yep.
that that was just a trial. Like, does anybody want to try this? Because we're doing it at Deer Hill,
Mhm.
because next year you're going to fully implement
Right.
it. And we had a lot of people jump
Yeah,
on
I
that.
would say pretty much every teacher did it. It wasn't that they weren't. It had more to do with the fact that the materials didn't show up in time. So we had kind of, we didn't want to force the teachers into something, but they all did it. They all got professional development.
Okay. So can you clarify for me what products comprise the entirety of our elementary literacy programming? So there's obviously, there's Heggerty, there's Readers Workshop, there's Foundations, like what other elements are there to
And
it?
then we have units of study, which we use K through 2 and then 3 through 5. They're different. K through 2 units of study are brand new,
Yep,
and then the 3 through 5s have not been revised yet.
okay, can we
Readers
break it down? I just want to, I'm sorry, I keep on interrupting you. All this
That's
stuff
okay.
is super important though, because it cuts right to the heart of what we do, right? So can you just like bullet point the elements of the K through 2 and the 3 through 5 literacy programming? Like what, so there's Heggerty, there's Foundations, there's Readers Workshop, and like, do the same things exist in both, or one or more not exist in, say, Deer Hill or Osgood? So like right now,
Right.
what do we use for, what elements are there in, that create our whole ELA curriculum in Osgood?
Okay, so we have Heggerty, which
Yep.
is K through 2, that's your phonemic awareness.
Okay.
Foundations, K through 2, that's your phonological
Phonics.
phonics, right? So that's phonics. And then you have Readers Workshop, units of study, and that's where there's mini lessons, explicit skill development, and then there's also
And you've seen the
small group
lesson.
instruction.
Yes,
conferring. So that's that part of
Right,
it,
I have seen a lot, yeah,
right? So
Okay.
that's what's happening.
okay,
And they have new materials, so they have decodable readers that they're using
okay,
that are also part of units
Okay.
of study. And then if you go to 3 through 5 at Deer Hill, they don't have Heggerty because it's only K through 2. Foundations in grade 3. There's word work for 4 and 5. So that's your syllable work, morphology, really learning how to take what they have learned in their earlier years, but learning those rules around how to break out understand words, how to break, what are the rules so that they can continue to decode. And then readers workshop, again, it's the same. That's those mini lessons, explicit skill instruction, small group instruction, and then you're conferring.
okay, and do we feel that there's vertical alignment there from start to
Absolutely.
finish?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
So that we're not
No,
confusing the kids in the way that they're learning phonetics or,
No, that was,
No.
that was really
That was-
important
right.
for us
Yeah,
to
we
have
didn't-
that flow.
yeah.
Because
So
you didn't
we
have
changed
that
it.
before with,
No.
with
No.
lively letters and.
There was a lot of different things happening. Foundations was there. When I got here, Foundations was there. K through 2 and 3, I think, was then that first year, maybe, or maybe right before I got here. But then what we ended up doing too was because of, when I got here, some people still had training, hadn't had training in Foundations, so we
Wasn't
trained
here
them.
in a deep way, though.
Right, so what we ended up doing was making sure that everyone who was new got trained in Foundations, and anybody else who had been trained was retrained, so like kind of a reboot. And for 4th and 5th grade, we had someone take the tenets of Foundations and make sure that there was a set criteria that 4th and 5th grade teachers would review and and continue the language of. Does that make sense? Because there's no Foundations for 4 and 5. There is a program in Wilson, but it's not really something you would really use as a core or supplemental instructions, more intervention. But we did have our reading specialists trained in that, so they have that.
okay.
But the alignment is all there.
The reason I asked is
Yeah.
because, there was some level of controversy, associated when we were rolling this out. And
Correct.
one of the issues or concerns was that I think something that's unique to Cohasset's approach is that we're kind of using a bunch of different tools, right? So we have like a versatile quiver, so to speak, in our
Mhm.
ELA arsenal. And I just want to make sure that like those elements, like a multisensory approach, evidence-based learning, all of that in instruction, all of that is present. I just want to reiterate that in the programming that we have at the LE levels right now, and that it's
Correct.
vertically aligned so that the kids, and you answered that question earlier.
Right.
So the kids aren't getting confused as they're shifting from grade levels. Now it's being presented in a different way.
Absolutely not.
So, okay, and can we, I think we talked about this at an earlier meeting, I just want to keep an eye on how it's going, because I think it's a creative approach that yourself and Dr. Sullivan, along with the relevant administrators and teachers and building principals have constructed. I just, and I have faith, okay, especially given some of the results we've seen. But can we just make sure that we're like monitoring this and presenting it to us to see, like, as we get, as Mr. Roberts is getting his data together, you can't do it yet, right? I mean, we just started school.
Mhm.
But can we make sure that we're presenting that to the committee so that we
Absolutely.
can see? And if for nothing more,
For sure.
you're all gathering it, putting it in some sort of like, condensed, intelligible format, and we can review this together and make sure we're going the
Sure.
right way.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's all I'm worried about. I just want to make sure that we're not,
Right.
that we're doing the right thing.
Yeah,
No, I
and we're really trying to be comprehensive with
Of course.
it.
Because no boxed product is going to give you everything you need. So even if we.
And our teachers are too good for a box product. They need
yes.
to be able to use their skill
Correct.
to use these
Right.
tools
Mhm.
and the systems we've created.
Correct.
Yeah, like, I mean,
Yeah.
watching, I mean, I've gone with the two of you and watching some of these lessons in the like Osgood classrooms, it's impressive.
Yeah.
Watching what the teachers are able to do. I agree. I just want to make sure that we're keeping in line, like, we're holding ourselves accountable to the families.
We
Absolutely.
really are.
And being transparent.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, I agree.
That's important.
Absolutely. And then lastly, professional development on Friday. So we have a half day in the afternoon. So there will be a focus on assessment data at each building. The elementaries will have completed their assessment, so they'll be looking at that data in math and reading, making sure that they kind of dive into what the data is saying. It's not a huge dive because it's a very short period of time, but they have a process to look at it. Special education will do some collaboration with ESPs and therapists and looking at, IEPs and making sure that everybody's up to date on what they need to have as information, and then giving everyone a little bit of time to complete their Cohasset Public Schools annual mandatory training, which includes all of those things and more, but special education, civil rights, harassment, bullying, mandated order training, and cyber training. So it will be a busy 2.5 hours or so for the staff. That's it.
And we should mention the comprehensive health curriculum.
Health frameworks.
Frameworks, sorry.
Right, just were approved.
Were approved, which is timely for us because we are in the process of our curriculum review cycle. We'll be very methodical with this
Yeah.
and very transparent and open with families in terms of our plans for it and what we have to do because of the mandated curriculum. But there'll be no secrets and we'll be very, very transparent and open.
I'm really glad you brought that up, Dr. Zollman, because that's a very recent development, and there may be some elements of that people find, troubling or concerning, if not totally informed about it, so maybe we can break that down
Yeah.
for people at a meeting somehow. In one of Dr. Scollins' updates, we can sort of break down what
Yes.
the components of that are at different levels, so that we can invite discussion about it if people want.
Well, the important part for us is that we're actually breaking down the curriculum in that area anyway. That's what we had.
Great.
I'd like to say that we knew this,
Yeah,
but we
I
really
don't know
didn't.
that
But
we
it's
were-
nice
yeah.
that it merges
It
together.
just
So
worked out.
we're really exploring, because our educators gotta have to get a handle around what it is.
Right.
That in itself should show people that we're gonna take our time
Yes.
and we're gonna implement appropriately. And part of that implementation is receiving feedback, providing information, and really being slow and transparent with this.
We are, yeah. And the nice thing is that this department has done a lot of work around looking at what the standards were before and what was being taught over the past few years. And so some of the work that we would be doing in our curriculum review has already been done. So that frees up some time, which is perfect because we're going to need more time to dive into these frameworks to see what they are.
And we're not asking any educator to dive into this unprepared.
No, so we will be looking at this together as a
So,
group.
so no family should expect any surprises in that regard. We need to know what we're doing before we get any.
And I want the families to understand what, their requirements.
Absolutely.
So I want.
And this
them
is
to
so
understand
hot
what
off the
requirements.
press.
Yeah,
Right.
it is. I
Literally
think
yesterday.
Today.
with
Well, I
just
had a-
update notification today,
Yesterday.
so.
To be honest with you, I had a parent this shows you how informed Cohasset is, stopped me and asked me at the open house last night, and they said, I didn't even know it passed yet, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
And I explained this to them that we'll be
Yeah.
going slow.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Scollins. That was a really informative update. Any questions for Dr. Scollins? Anyone can just ask questions.
Thank you.
Okay, I just want to take 1 second to commend our administrators and our teachers and
Yes.
our staff members for what they've done to realize those MCAS results, which will be summarized in further detail at a later meeting. But it's one data point, just like we said when we weren't happy with some of them. And when we are happy with them, we'll say it's one data point. It's an important one. It's a well-known one. It's a commonly understood one. And I just want to say that, you got to give credit when credit's due. And you were obviously, we just dealt with this last year. We were unhappy with the results. And the district obviously responded to the family's concerns and the school committee's concerns. And thank you for what you do. Really, I mean, that is illustrative of people that care and are doing a good job and being responsive. And we look forward to hearing of the full analysis of everything and breakdown. But those highlights were pretty spectacular. And I don't want to get Dr. Sullivan giving too much of a big head after coming off the tails of a successful superintendent eval last
Well,
meeting, but
Don't worry about it. I'd be remiss, and if I haven't thanked the staff, it's them
It's
who do.
they-
And you know, honestly,
for sure.
I like that you said it's one data point because I felt that our staff was amazing when our data points and MCAS aren't great, and I feel like they're amazing when they are. I think this is just some explicit attention paid to some of the skills that were noted that we needed to focus on, and we
Yes.
did so. And I think the results are moving certainly in the right direction. But yeah, it's our staff
It's
and it's in our
absolutely, yeah.
leaders too, our
Absolutely.
principals.
the leaders.
I think it's the whole team, Dr. Sullivan.
Well, thank you.
Dr. Scollins, I mean, it just is. And it's not a coincidence that it's happening now, that you have assembled this team and that we have this great faculty in place. And, you know,
Yeah.
it's happening, those things are happening because we have such a great team. So I just wanted to recognize that because that's one very tangible piece of evidence that we're moving in the right direction. And so it's encouraging and you guys should be congratulated for that and thanked.
Well, I accept that
Thank
and
you.
on behalf of the staff.
Of course, thanks.
Appreciate
When
it.
I say
I know.
the entire staff, for sure.
I do,
Yeah,
but I hear-
Obviously, the classroom teachers
I hear
play a
that.
vital role in how the kids are doing on the
Thank you.
cast.
Thank you.
For sure. Okay, so moving on to the next item, we turn to our Director of Business and Finance, or Operations and Finance, I'm sorry. Susan Owen, Ms. Owen, please lead us down the budget path.
I will.
Thank you.
Good evening. So what I'm reporting tonight is FY '24, so I'm giving you July and August at the same time. Not much going on, obviously, because there wasn't a lot of payroll or activity because staff isn't here, but just to start it off, the school budget, a little different this year. It was voted at $22,905,421. It represented a $560,069 increase over last year, which was a 2.51% increase. As of October 31st, we've only expended $976,000 and we've encumbered a little over $2.6 million. The different part for the budget this year is it's kind of a budget in three places right now. So our original ask was for an additional 1.152257, which was a 5.16% increase. And working with the town administrators, we came up with, or they came up with a collaboration that we were looking for 300,000 to absorb the cost of full day kindergarten from the parents. And we're also looking for an additional $272,188 for supplies and materials. 5.16 was not in the ballpark of what the town was able to give us. So they found other funding ways. So the 300,000 in kindergarten is in a separate account, as well as the 272,000 for supplies and materials is in a separate account, which is coming from ARPA funding. So it's kind of a three-part right now. But we ended up getting everything that we asked for, just in different pockets.
Thank you to the town for that.
Exactly. So in this report, the only salaries that were being paid in July and August were the administrators, the central office staff, the office secretaries, custodians, summer employees, and our IT staff. So the numbers, aren't really large in our expenditures. Teachers, paraprofessionals, cafeteria, bus drivers, and all other employees began working and began receiving their payroll in September. So right now, there's no areas of concern. Supplies, materials as well, now that everyone's back to work, requisitions for purchase orders are going in, which is why you saw the 2.6 million in encumbrances, those are purchase orders. And then we get into the actual individual schools and what their budgets look like. Again, very minimally used. Osgood used 8.37%, Deer Hills used 6.68%, middle school at 2.53%, and high school at 10.31%. And again, when you look at the difference between the middle and high school, a lot of it has to do with custodial staff. It's all lumped into high school. The custodian staff did work all summer.
Circuit breaker funding that we received last year was 1.1 million. Circuit breaker funding for FY '24 has not yet been released from the state. They said sometime in September, so they're getting close to the end of September. I checked again today, and they haven't released it yet. I'm assuming it's gonna remain the same at the 75%, but we won't know until they release those numbers. And you can see, here is a chart of what the numbers have been over the last 6, 7, 8 years. They've been 75%, sorry. And 24 is still a TBD. Voted capital, so we had our bus lease, which we've paid for, our replacement of aging Chromebooks, which we've already paid for, the replacement of the smart projectors and the panels in the middle school, which has been ordered, and preparing to install, replacement of the iPads, the Deer Hill and the Osgood. We have received all those. I'm not sure if they've been passed out to this point, but I know they were coming in because we had a delivery.
Yeah, I think they have to configure them, so they may not be all down there yet.
They have.
I believe so.
And then Deer Hill had the $35,000 to continue replacing student furniture. Very small capital list this year. And
Ms.
then
Owen, can we just make sure that we did get delivery of all those things, of like the Chromebooks and the iPads?
the Chromebooks are here. I
All right.
know the Chromebooks have arrived, and I know the iPads have because
Okay. All right, well, thank you, that's quick.
Rod had called over and said, I've got a delivery coming of all these 250 something iPads, so be on the lookout.
All right,
He didn't want them just left the back garage door, so.
right.
Good idea.
And then the grants, some of the grants are similar from year to year. You can see off to the right, I tried to show you what the differences are. Unfortunately, some of the grants go down each year. The special education grants typically go up a little bit each year, so you can see the school improvement grant has gone down a little bit. It was 19,492 last year. It's 18,000 this year. And then you can see the SPED IDA grant has gone up from 354 to 367. Down below here in yellow are the 3 new grants that Leslie mentioned in some of her updates. So we've got the expanding the high quality math, we've got the open science, middle school implementation, and we've got investigating history. And those were 23,000, 62,006, and 26,900.
Ms. Owen, are those figures the total cost of the curriculum or just the amount that we got subsidized?
Which figures?
So.
Like, so for, let's take investigating history, for example, does it cost $26,900 to implement that? Or is that just the amount we get towards
So
from the state?
it actually is less than that. So, well, the materials themselves are relatively inexpensive. It's open source, so those are free. We purchased some printed materials. That's actually professional development. Yep, so that's why that number is high. Open Science, same, that's open sourced. However, we did purchase those manuals so that they have them, plus a lot of materials. And same for math. Math, we did not get nearly what it costs for the programming. Because we are going, even though illustrative math is open source, you need professional development, and we contracted with Illustrative Math, which has an online digital platform, which makes it much easier and much, I think, better for teachers and students. So that was a lot more than that, but we got funding from the town to cover the other parts of it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
with the exception of the illustrative math, the 62 figure and 26 figure,
Yeah.
aside from materials, is that pretty much taking care of the implementation of the curriculum,
Yeah,
including
professional
PDs?
development.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, it's mostly professional
Good.
development. Yeah, and it allowed me to get coverage for substitute teachers, and they've really been really working hard to find ways to help us implement professional development. That's the most important thing that we do.
Any questions on that? Good. Moving on to the revolving accounts. As you know, over the past few years, we've been carrying some higher balances. This past year was very trying, lots of expenditures, lots of changes. So you can see, we really don't have any of our revolving funds with high balances at all. They're, most of them are under 100,000 now. We obviously will continue to bring in revenue, but we also continue to have expenditures coming out of there. The only one that, still is in question is the facilities. We did raise the rates last year, so we're hoping to see that number come down. And then if you get down to the school lunch, again, meals are free. All districts are going to the same thing. They're not being penalized for carrying too much money just because all meals, breakfast and lunch are free for all children. So the students are eating.
So what can we, what can we direct
So
that
what we-
$414,000 to?
What we've done with that is we purchased the upper and lower lobby new furniture that we were just talking
Okay,
about.
okay.
We've put new cafeteria. We went to the round style tables.
yep, those
for
are
the
good, those are
for the
great.
elementary
Yep,
levels.
Yep, that's great.
So they're
Are
moving-
they in yet? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah,
And they're,
it's great.
as you've noted in the past, it's absolutely paying off in
Yeah,
terms
for
of.
sure.
Socialization.
For sure, that's great.
It's actually quieter
Yeah,
because they're so much closer to each other
What?
in the circle, exactly, as opposed to the long tables.
Exactly.
Isn't that funny? Yeah.
that's good.
We were also.
Can I, sorry, one more thing.
Yeah.
We did talk about, water fountains being, at the Osgood and trying to also do outdoor, over here.
Mhm.
That would, is that something that we can explore from that fund? Seeing that it's water?
If it's not connected to the cafeteria or the kitchens, no.
If it's near the caf, maybe near the
If
caf.
it's
We
near,
have one in.
um,
So there
like
might be
outside,
some limited,
not.
certainly not outside and at the, but the
Well,
sports
Osgood-
revolving account, you could look at it, if it's for alumni or.
Because Osgood has one right near the gap. Is that,
Yeah, I think to Sue's point, I think it has to be in use of the food service
service.
delivery. But I think maybe, I would have to look at it.
okay, just because
If it was
that
in the
is,
cafeteria, for sure.
Right. No, I mean, those kind of things are definitely on the list. And I
Yeah.
know I have had conversations
Inside the
with
caf, is that what you said?
facilities about
Yeah,
we put a,
that could work.
the outside stuff. right,
Yeah.
They used to be, I think.
It's
out
fine,
in
right?
Eastfield, they used to
Keep
be
going there and you.
Some type of, piping out there.
right, because there's one at, there's just FYI, there's one at the football field.
Right.
We
Well,
can use that.
and a creative solution for that internally would be a hydration station in a cafeteria, which actually could work.
Hey, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Just as a thought.
The other one is the other one is the Freedom Field, just, I spoke to Vince Thornton,
Mhm.
and he says that they could put one right at the building where the snack bar is. So I asked him to take a picture and.
It's just how we're gonna fund it.
Yeah, and what,
It's a town field. Freedom Field is where our softball plays.
girls.
Um,
So we had said maybe we could do the same thing with the scoreboard and see if the CBI would fund that half of it. Maybe
Hmm?
the school could fit in the other.
Yeah,
So
I
I
don't know,
just
what
wanted to
did it
update
cost?
you on a conversation that I had.
Do you know?
I honestly don't know.
I
What
can't
was the
remember.
question?
I can't remember the cost
I
of it.
wanna say
I was
that-
trying to-
Oh, they're like $3,500.
That sounds
Yeah,
about right. I was gonna say
$4,000.
4,000.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
At this point in the year, we're very early on. There are no areas of concern. I do foresee this being a very tight year, so we've talked about it
mhm.
multiple times with our leadership teams, just to be
Yeah.
cautious of what we're spending.
And today, as we do periodically, we reviewed our sort of vision for future positions, and that is not a pragmatic, it's an exercise of vision and like best case scenario. We realize that there are budget constraints that may not allow that, but unless you do that and you really get input on what we'd want if we had the funding, that doesn't happen. So we also looked at capital and what principals and other leaders are saying, their staff and they feel are needed. It was very productive, and we'll be sharing that with the facilities committee when we meet Tuesday to share some of their ideas. Because they had some really great
What
ideas.
are we doing? Sorry.
School facilities meeting,
Okay, yeah,
if you're available.
yeah, of course. Okay,
Oh, yeah, Jen will send out a Zoom message.
okay, yeah.
I digress, but it was important to
It's
know that, for people to know out there that we do look at this and revisit it periodically throughout the year, and soon just do that exercise, so it's good.
You know, did I read that Massachusetts, as far as the free, the lunch, is that permanent now? I thought I read that. I'm looking it up now.
I think so.
Yeah.
It is for this year, I know that, but
Yeah.
I think 1 year at a time, basically.
Yeah,
I-
well, I mean, I think I did see something.
I think for the foreseeable future,
Will now
unless
be,
something changes.
Something that our governor really
yeah, she
steps
stepped
behind
right
that,
up.
which I appreciate. so.
Yeah.
All right, budget development process. So
So budget development process, I was asked to just give a brief overview of what we do. So, in September already, I sent out, last year's budgets and budget workbooks to all of the department heads, our administrators, anyone that actually has a budget to manage. They, go through it and, meet with their teams to see what their needs are for the upcoming year. We had, starting today, actually, we had a leadership meeting with Dr. Sullivan just said to talk about positions and, what we're looking at or not looking at, whether it's this year, next year. So the leadership team will probably meet every other week. We'll probably start discussing it every other week on what direction we want to go, what our priorities are going to be. We still, one of the things we're going to talk about at our budget subcommittee meeting is our budget priorities for the next year. Also, through the month of September, October, Dr. Sullivan and Dr. Scollins and I will meet with principals, department heads. Again, anyone who has a budget to manage and go over those budgets with them one-on-one to see what their needs are and, how we can meet their needs, or if we can collaborate to come up with, a different idea or different direction.
And also from a school committee perspective, maybe you're gonna mention this, but we do, after going through our finance and facilities committee, we do bring forward, and getting approval from them, and I'm looking at them here as well. We do bring forward our, you gonna mention that?
Yes.
Okay, good, I'll just be quiet.
It's okay. I don't mind you helping.
No, I don't want staff, I just want to make sure
I
they
just want them to
understand.
know, we do spend a lot of time beforehand.
Yes, we do.
Meeting as a leadership team with our staff and
Okay.
department heads. And
We should
then
do.
when we come up with a draft, we go to the budget subcommittee and then we bring it to school committee. And school committee will also see it multiple times and have discussions about it. And then, we meet with the town to get their approval. And, it's a fluid document that we go around and around and around about until the town, usually sometime in February, March, will say, what is it that you're looking for? And then we start the discussions of, can they meet our needs? Or can we get creative, which is what they did for this year.
Yeah.
We get very creative and met all of our needs, really.
And those first steps are, you'll get budget priorities,
Right.
and then you'll get a calendar, which the facilities committee will approve, that will actually, everything that Sue just mentioned,
Right.
will show the dates for all that. Remember, this all ends with a, approval from town meeting, but before that, we have a
We
hearing.
have a public hearing.
And that's a posted public hearing where we are able to present our budget and get your approval for that. Then that goes forward to the select board, and then goes forward to the town, at town meeting. So it's a great collaborative process, and we appreciate the back and forth from the community on these important items.
And advisory too.
Yes, it goes to advisory and absolutely.
Is there a point in the process where you also look at redundancies or things that can be eliminated from the budget because it's no longer a utility?
Yes.
So that's also part of that
We-
process.
we-
It's not just creating your list, but also reviewing.
We're doing that, and that's one of the things we do, and we just did. Like there were some ideas we had that we were going to advocate for that have been covered through other positions or repurposing, like Rock coming on, for instance, helped a lot with sort of our needs with curriculum. We were finding that he could do a lot more than maybe we had first thought in building some curriculum. So, yeah, that happens. And yeah, it really is a process in that.
Yeah, I mean, we look at all what, what do we no longer need? Or, we looked at some of the things that we put on the list that we thought we would need for 25. And when we might not quite be ready for that, so we moved it out to 26. So,
And the other thing that it's productive that we've done in the past in different ways is actually have a budget workshop that we've done this in the past. I can't remember if we did this last year, but in open session, we did. We had the principals here and we discussed their budget needs and openly with the school committee. So you could give input and the community kind of see what we're prioritizing. And often in those meetings, redundancies are eliminated.
Those are really helpful too, because they're the, building, they're most familiar with buildings. So with the principals coming in here, from a functionality perspective.
Absolutely.
so it's ongoing. It starts now and it goes right till to June.
Till May and June.
Never stops.
It does,
Goes round
it
and
does,
round.
and it goes around. And
Yeah.
so right now we're closing 23. We're in 24.
Yeah, and then she's
we're in
closing
25.
things out. It really
Right,
never
it's
stops. Right.
It's 3 at once usually.
Never stops.
So, I mean, that's just a quick overview of the budget, but the budget calendar, once we put it together, we'll highlight all of it.
Yeah. And that usually is in October, probably the second meeting in October.
All right, can we get into the preliminary school stabilization list?
Sure.
Just as a refresher, remember, this is something that the select board has approved, but it has to go through town meeting.
Yeah, so I guess I'll give a quick rundown of what it is. So the next item that Ms. Owen's going to present on is a draft. It's very much a draft of the priorities for projects that we will be seeking funding from what's called a special purpose stabilization fund that was advocated for by the schools and by the school facility committee. By the school committee. And we had discussed this and presented on this to the select board prior to the last annual town meeting. I think it was just a little late in the game for them to get it before the community. And I think that there were a lot of other capital needs throughout the town. So the select board decided to hold off until the upcoming special town meeting, which is going to be a very important town meeting. It's going to focus on basically all kinds of capital improvements and capital related needs townwide. And on that will be for the town to consider what's called the Special Purpose Stabilization Fund, which is a fund that the select board can appropriate funds to a certain extent. So there's a ceiling on it. And I think that the amount that the select board has unanimously supported in presenting to the town is $1.5 million. And so the schools are then able to seek through certain channels, and the appropriation has to be also approved. So the fund itself has to be established by community vote at town meeting. And then any request for appropriations from that fund up to the $1.5 million needs to also be approved by the community. And so this list that Ms. Owen's about to present are the draft priorities for requests or for items that need to be addressed within the district, and that we will be turning to that fund for this regular repair and maintenance type of need. And so that we're developing this in tandem with this new concept of a special purpose stabilization fund for the schools in an effort to maybe keep more on top of our ongoing maintenance needs here at the district.
Yes.
In terms of ongoing operations, any major renovations or new projects are a completely different animal, and that's not what we would be using the stabilization fund for.
Particularly as it's a lower number.
Correct. So that is, and the stabilization fund, once established, can be refunded can be refilled every year. So that up to that $1.5 million limit, or the select board can unilaterally decide that they're only going to make it, they can come down from that $1.5 million.
It has to be approved
figure.
every year, though.
That's right. It has to be approved every year, and the select board can come down from that $1.5 million figure to, say, $500,000. But then they can't increase it the next year past that 500,000. They can only go down. They have to. So it's sort of it's a novel concept for the school district. It hasn't been done yet in Cohasset, and it is, I think, a very fiscally responsible financial planning tool that we're trying to utilize here. I think that the school district is just one department that I think that they're looking to create other stabilization funds for other departments as well. An example of an existing stabilization fund is circuit breaker. That is a stabilization fund.
Yeah, and we're really thankful for this. It is, and you've mentioned this, it's at its heart, a maintenance fund. And what I mean by that is it's ongoing building maintenance in terms of operations. But it does also, I feel, highlight the needs of the schools, which, I know members of this committee have advocated for very passionately, and we appreciate that. And it does highlight, as did the AI3 report, that we have a lot of needs. So we're doing our best with this, and we have a lot, and Sue will maybe just start, Sue, by talking about the key, what the colors mean. And I want to make sure that everyone knows this was done in collaboration with our facilities team. Nick Berardi, head of facilities for the town, worked and really focused on, he does great work, and his team focused on what they know is a need. And we will bring this as well to the Finance and Facilities Committee to get your thoughts on it, but we were asked to show this by Lance. And so we're going to do it.
And Jason Earls from the school facilities.
Oh, thank you, Jason. Yes, thank you, Jason, and Ellen, and of course, Ms. Dibble, Keely Dibble, excuse me, presented last time. Miss Marr, and Sarah Dibble. Ellen, because I just know her so well, because she was on school committee.
So they're color coded. If they're in blue, basically the project listed are completed, or they're just falling under regular operations. Color red is obviously first priority, yellow is the second priority, and green is the third priority. So we tried to put them in order. So there's quite a bit of red. Big ticket items in red are roofs on all of our buildings. So you can see, yeah, I guess the main, I shouldn't say the main one, they're not in any order.
No.
But facilities has stressed the fact that our fire alarm system in this building, it's currently grandfathered, it is outdated, and we definitely need to upgrade it, so.
Yeah. And I should make it clear, it doesn't mean it's not functioning properly. It is.
It is.
It's just that we know that there's a timeline on this, and our facility team is conscious that it's going to need to be updated.
Right, and you can't get
Big item.
lack of replacement parts for it as well. so.
Should we say a little bit about the numbers here? So these figures are the best estimates we have. For instance, you'll see on here, air conditioning, which of course is something that we all want, but without doing an full engineering study, we're kind of going off an estimate. And that estimate could shift significantly as we move. But I just wanted to say that this is a best guesstimate
Right,
from facilities and from
right, it's not, it's,
what we have.
yeah.
AI3, everything else.
Right, it's a range. So it'll show you what buildings, over here to the left, what the issues are, the electrical, architectural. You can see roofing, of course, generator, the middle high school, is at the end of its life, so we definitely need, a generator. The roofs, like I mentioned, snow guards for roofs, that was all tied in. At the Deer Hill, they're looking for, replace the flooring in all the classrooms. And again, a roof. Middle school, high school moisture control is a big one. And standing water, from mechanical spaces, we need to direct runoffs. But we definitely have some moisture problems in the high school. Middle high school, again, roofing is on the list. Plumbing systems, replace our water main, from the gate valve to backflow. which has been recommended by the water department, so that's on the list. And then HVAC, so at Osgood, we need to replace the rooftop units. The rooftop units do not give us air conditioning.
No, but they move the air.
They move the air, it's
the rooms,
airflow. And then we had organized some other stuff that wasn't necessarily structurally needed to be done. It was just things that we needed to be done to make the system
It
better.
wasn't necessarily like air conditioning for a building wasn't necessarily a priority of our facilities team, but we know it's a priority for our community. And we want to make sure we attend to it. So that's an issue we put up on that list.
So you can see here for the Osgood, and a lot of these are similar. Air conditioning for the entire school. Update the HVAC equipment and controls for better performance. Install first floor upgraded school guide glass. Fences around playgrounds and any other fences on the actual school property.
That's safety and security. Some of our fences are broken and actually could be a hazard in that regard. And then some of our fences just aren't secure. For example, the alumni fence, which is only about 4 feet high or less, which you can get right over. So you can lock that gate all you want, but people can jump over it. You know, I think I might even be able to get over it.
The curbing, roads, curbing, sidewalks. Signage. We definitely need upgraded signage in the buildings and outside the buildings. And then our playgrounds. And as you can see, Deer Hill, very similar, air conditioning, more school guard glass, fences, roads, curbing, all the same. Middle high school, we get into air conditioning for the entire school, which has been a big request. Provide dehumidifiers and for academic area spaces. Rooftop units and air handler units.
Is
Again,
this document going to be available to the public?
Well, I'd like to bring it to the, with the permission of the vice chair, to the Finance and Facilities Committee on Tuesday to have us look at it. Again, the chair asked us to present where we were with this, and so that's what we're doing. And, there are some items added from our facilities list. For instance, as far as I know, it's not yet determined which pocket of money. You mentioned there are some other stabilization funds at play possibly that the grounds are coming from, but we felt like we needed to put it on our list just to make the point that our grounds are very important and do need to be considered in the mix for safety and security reasons, not just aesthetic reasons.
Right, you just brought up security. There are some securities that we can't share with the public that are.
That's correct. We shared,
Just share the
we shared safeguard glass because we have safeguard glass. It's just
Okay.
making sure that we have as thick a glass as we,
Right.
as the technology now says we can have.
Right.
It's very safe. It's just a matter of making sure we have it.
So is there other
Yes.
security issues that we're not, so we're just gonna give the figure, not the direct?
Yeah, that's not actually, do we have that on here?
No.
That was the only one we had on there, so we could add that for
Just
sure.
the number, right?
Yeah.
Not that, we can just add what it's gonna cost for us.
Yeah, I think we should add that to the list.
Yeah.
Actually, because we did add the grounds. Again, I want to come back to the fact that 1.5 million is an incredibly generous amount. It's really not a lot. When you start looking at, the cost of, for instance, the vestibule at Osgood was upwards to 200,000.
We can spend that in one of those things.
Yeah, so again, what it really comes down to is an ongoing maintenance list. I think that the view is we need to make sure that the building runs.
Right.
We're certainly, we've been upgrading security as much as we can, and we're doing a good job of it, and we are a very secure, what we have here in terms of cameras and
Right.
infrastructure and,
Police officers.
guarded glass and entrance, Raptor or lobby guards. Is it Raptor or lobby guards now? Which one we have? Raptor. And, we're in a really good spot, as was noted by the safety consultants that did a safety report. and our own safety experts, our police team. But we're continually upgrading those. So that is certainly something that we need to do. It's just, it's a matter of, I mean, look at the amount of money we have here that, and needs. And we're being given some money to stabilize. It's just how wide can you spread that? Becomes sort of a silly symphony, So I hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, I know. I do wanted to also reiterate that the giving page on the website, that we'll be able to work. I know we have a new website design coming in that we're still working on. So a giving page would really help out to, specify, like, if you want to, like, we had the McNamara family donate
Yeah.
So I think that we should be able to, like, ask the public if they want to,
Yeah.
put these things out there. So that's something that we're still working on.
We sure are.
I know that-
And I think something like that, I mean, the CEF is, so as Vice Chair McCollum said, that I know what you mean, and I think that's, so two separate things. So yes, that's what we need to do that. But some of the things you mentioned,
Yeah,
like the McNamara's
Yeah.
donation is a little bit of a different category because we need those innovative elements.
yeah.
My understanding is this list is not for that. Correct?
Well,
There could be some parts.
yes,
Right?
yes, you're right, Dr. Sullivan. This is for ongoing repair and maintenance. So those larger sort of, renovations or structure.
We have a lot of ideas around those. Yeah.
We do. That wouldn't be something that, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Stabilization funds are for traditionally smaller expenditures.
Yeah.
Not, tens of millions of dollars. Those things are different, the way you fund those. So
Right.
that's, and again, we got to look at the reality of the situation. We need to confront that, right? And that is that this town has a number of departments that are in need of capital improvements, and there is a finite amount of money to go around. So I think that the select board is getting as creative as possible with trying to figure out how we can start this process and where, departments have, access to some funds and like we have, and I misspoke earlier. I mentioned circuit breaker. I meant, which may be able to characterize as stabilization fund, but we have a special education stabilization fund that already exists. And so this would be a different additional one for like capital repair and maintenance. And then there's also the capital budget. The town has, I think it's like around like $3 million or something like that a year. And all the top departments used to go to that same pot of $3 million. So what the select board's trying to do is give every department their own sort of pool of monies that could be appropriated if the community sees fit. And then in addition to that, the capital budget still exists, but hopefully through all of these means, we're able to make these improvements over time. And Mr. Kearney, you're absolutely right. I mean, like we could spend the entire $1.5 million in one item, right? You see that. There's also several items that we can accomplish within the $1.5 million. And we have, if you look at the blue, we have found a way to get some of these done already, right? We're chipping away. But this is also a complete draft. So I don't think it's up to me, Dr. Sullivan, to answer your question earlier. I think if the committee is good with you presenting it to the facilities committee, which I think makes complete sense, and we have to be collaborative on this, everyone has to be on the same page. So
Yeah.
as long as the committee's in support of that, I think all it does is just further facilitate the discussion, right? So I think that you should do that. You should present that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we accomplished what Mr. Dow was looking to accomplish. I don't think we need to go line by line and,
Right.
yellow, green, blue, all this stuff. But that's generally just giving the public an idea of what's going on. I think that's what Mr. Dow wanted to accomplish.
Yep.
And let people know what we're doing and what's coming down the pike in terms.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was, I mean, particularly on the heels of the presentation last meeting from the select board and the vote that just happened. I think it's important that folks know that we've been collaborating and working and where we are with it. Good work from Sue on that.
Yeah, I just want to just reiterate, like, what I was talking about is just that we could throw out some things to the community that if they want to buy for the school, feel free to. I don't think that, I think that maybe we could do that in subcommittee, like, what we could specialize out. I don't think anybody wants to buy us a air conditioner, but look, if you get $1 million kicking around and you want to donate it to the school, go ahead. I mean, we just gotta ask. You can't get it unless you ask. So that's my point. My point is that, a giving page similar to what Somerville has, and some other communities have it.
Yeah.
So you just do a line item, this is what we're trying to get. If you want to donate it, fine. And it might be smaller, it might be something to do with sports, it might be, like right now, to be honest with you, I mean, if I had the money, I'd fix the lights in the auditorium that don't work. But how are we gonna get it fixed? I mean, does anybody know an electrician? I would pay for the parts. I mean, we're all chipping in. This is all our school. So if anybody wants to feel good, I think that we should just throw it out there. Exactly, not these big things. Like I said, I don't think anybody's gonna buy us an air conditioner.
You reminded me of another point. Some of the items on here that we need to, I think we should also add are some of the ADA needs. Particularly for the middle and high school.
I saw some code stuff.
Yeah, I like, that was one item as I thought about it, I think we need to go back and put in here because there are some, we fixed many of them, but there are some ADA potential problems in our auditorium, for instance, and a couple other places.
Yeah. So, I know all about the clubs stuff.
It's an older building. And
It's an
that's
older
what happens
building.
when you have older buildings.
I think it just shows the need for a new building.
Or serious renovation. I would say new building myself.
All right, well, let's move on. I think we accomplished what we need to do with that portion of it. Ms. Owen, you kind of touched on food service transportation in your budget report, but are there any updates relative to those two areas or departments that you want to?
Quick, on
Touch on?
food service, I know they were down to 2 staff in this building. They've since hired 3.
Good.
You
So
don't need any-
they're getting back up to what they need to be. Transportation, we just hired another bus driver. Just put in his 2 weeks notice, so he's coming on board. So we have a plethora of bus drivers.
Great.
And got our 8 new buses and they're rocking and rolling, really.
So Craig, we did want to have another food service.
Yep, you're taking the words right out of my mouth. So we had mentioned that last meeting. Ms. Owen and I have not heard about scheduling a meeting in October, so I would ask that you ask Ms. Harridan to let Mr. Kearney and Dr. Sullivan know about when they're available to meet in October by the end of this week.
Yeah, because we want to present to the school committee exactly what, we would like to highlight. So-
On an action plan for the elementary lunch
Right.
program.
Which we,
I have mentioned it, I have mentioned it to her.
Yeah.
It's just, like I said, up until
Yeah.
this week, they had 2 staff.
Sure, they're just starting,
No,
staffing
yeah,
issues.
Both the director and the assistant director were actually
so Craig and I.
the cooking and preparing
Of
and
course,
of
serving.
course.
So we were thinking that if we could have an early October meeting, that way we can present at the second school committee of the month. Because we do want to make it an agenda item of what, we got a lot to be proud of, but we do want to, we do want to update.
Just a preliminary action plan for improvements to the elementary program. That's the
Especially in the
program. So, Ms. Owen, really not trying to be pushy, but, honestly, and this is what I'll say, I understand. The food services program just started up a couple weeks ago. We just got back to school. So everyone's getting their feet on the ground. Even just an email saying, hey, we're gonna get to this, we're gonna meet, that would be nice to see, so. Because again, we talked about it 2 weeks ago at the meeting and I haven't heard anything about it since. And I want to hear about it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's.
And
No,
I
I mean,
echo,
our intent was
I echo.
to have a meeting in
Just do
October.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, she knows that.
it's a
All right,
big
well,
concern
then
of mine.
Let's look at our schedule and
Yeah,
let's.
no,
set the
absolutely.
date.
Yeah,
I just want to set the date, because we
Yeah.
set the date, then people, okay, because it's not real before we do that, right?
Right.
And then people aren't really thinking about it, and the next thing you know, it's mid-October, and we're thinking, oh, we'll get it done in early November. It's just, it's important. We've made some great progress last year, and the agreement was that once we got back and we're going through the fall, we're going to start turning towards the elementary lunches. And that's what I want to do. I just want to keep us on track, because we've been doing some great things there, and Ms. Haradin and Ms. Urban have been doing great things there. So,
Absolutely.
let's continue that work. Mr. Tierney, is that,
That's
You
great.
good? Okay.
No, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
all right. Report from School Facilities Committee, no longer on it, but I'll just act as a sort of de facto liaison, just because I do have an update relative to some work that they were doing, and that is, well, we sort of hit on one thing, which is the presentation someone just made with the stabilization fund, which is major progress. Another element of major progress is the select board unanimously supporting the creation of a warrant item for the town meeting for feasibility study for for future options for the middle high school. What that may be, the problem is no one knows right now.
Right.
So we have asked for sort of figures for about how much it would be for like a condensed, to get an idea from the design professionals that conducted our existing conditions study at the
Correct.
schools.
Yep.
Hey, how much would it be if we're not looking to like, do a full feasibility study for a new school, because we're not sure we're gonna do that, but how much would it be to do a study that would give us as a community a lot of information about what our options are and what might be the best direction to go in terms of, new location, if we had to move the school, or, or a renovation, and what would that look like? What elements would be included in that? How much is that? Environmental survey, geological and land surveys, things that we're going to be able to repurpose to an MSBA's feasibility study anyway, because there's a feasibility portion or element of the MSBA program, the core program. If we are invited to that, which is, there's no guarantee that we're invited to that, we'll apply to it every year. But it's a needs-based sort of selection process, and it's very competitive. So we're looking to make some progress on our own here in Cohasset, so that we're outfitted with information, and so the community can make an informed decision as we go along, and we're not just waiting, for a train that may just never arrive at the station. So the select board unanimously approved that condensed sort of feasibility study to place that on the warrant for town meeting, upcoming special town meeting, November 13th, 2023, 7 p.m. And we're
I think, is there any way, Craig, first of
Yeah.
all, thank you for your leadership there. It's wonderful, because it's like, really, you don't know what you don't know, right? And, the idea that we have what we have here as far as like what the school needs, the 13 study, that is a huge, powerful tool. What he's saying here is so important, because it's like, where do we go from here? What do we do? It just answers a lot of the questions. So Dr. Sullivan, I would ask you if we could, this November 13th, just to let the community know exactly how important that is. I don't know if we could do it in the newsletter.
So I'm glad you brought that up. The select board is trying to put together like the a sort of community engagement plan around each of these things that they're doing, feasibility studies included. They're going to, I think, look to certain individuals in certain departments. So for example, the school committee and school facilities committee for the, because remember, the school facilities committee update that I'm giving this on, because the school facilities committee was instrumental in getting this done. Mr. Earls and I presented to the select board before the last town meeting on this issue. So this is sort of a continuation of that effort. And so thank you to our school facilities committee. They're going to look to different folks from those committees, Mr. Kearney, to sort of I guess there's like some PR type videos that they're going to be sort of pushing out to the public ahead of the town meeting. So everyone has more of a comprehensive understanding of what we're talking about as we go in there, and we're asked to vote on these and consider these issues, but also who's going to be like there presenting the concepts and to the town at town meeting, But, obviously, community decisions, so it's going to be presented to the community, and that's all the select board unanimously supported, is that we get these issues in front of the community, and however the community feels is where we'll end up. But
So that'll be a
I do
vote.
hope we have some support for that. But that's the update there. On November 13th, 2023, please come if you're a school district family. Please come and show your support for these very, very crucial items.
We'll certainly promote that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Last time we were able to get Mr. Dykes, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to do that same kind of response, to give the parents the ability to come in, because, they're busy, I don't think and again, like, I think sometimes we forget, like Cohasset, you just kind of think, oh, why aren't they all there? But the folks in this town are really, really busy. And it's like, we just gotta kind of engage them because it's like, it's tough to, I recognize that.
Yeah.
Most of them two working parents. That's what it is.
Agreed. Participation's really
Yeah.
appreciated, but it is understood how hard it is. That's why it's so appreciated.
All right, well, moving on to community relations communication, section of the agenda that focuses on obviously the, any sort of liaison or subcommittee roles, any updates that anyone wants to give relative to any of their roles. Start in alphabetical order with Mr. Carr.
Nothing in my area. I can touch on pretty much everything that we've been tracking for a while, so I think we're on track.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Carr. Moving on down the line, Mr. Kearney, do you have any?
I just got a comment more so than anything else is, I do want to bring up teenage drinking again. That's something that, Safe Harbor has been trying to do. I'd like to maybe try to see if we can get Safe Harbor in here to definitely discuss of what they're doing. I would like to make sure that we get the message out there because it's happening. It's happening in seniors drinking and it's illegal. And, you know, I do want to see some response from our resource officer. I want him to be out there telling that it's not going to be tolerated. If you drink and you're on a team, you're going to get kicked off. I haven't seen anybody really press these issues in the town, and I just want them to know that teenage drinking it's not legal, number one. And parents should also be aware of the responsibilities of them, where they're getting this alcohol. And they should know that, you know, it's a $2,000 fine and possibly a year in jail. We saw a family in Dedham who gave a kid alcohol and they drowned in the pool. That's something I just think that we need to, as a community, let people know that parents, it's not cool. It's not cool to give your kids drinks. And you know, Ted and I, we both have seniors. We have kids in high school. And guys, I'm telling you, it's happening. And I'm just saying, as a community leader, if I see it, I'm going to say something. If I see a parent, and I'm going to let them know, because there's parents out there that are allowing teenage drinking. And if I hear about it, I'm going to bring it up. Just going to bring it up because it's an illegal act. There's a reason why kids don't drink at 16, 17. I'm going to go to a funeral this weekend for my cousin who lost his 16-year-old child. All right. We got to do something as a community. And it's just not going to be tolerated. So I got to tell you, as a committee member, if I see it, I'm going to bring it up. That's all I'm saying.
Mr. Kearney, I'm not familiar with the allegations in that Dedham case. I mean, I'm familiar with it generally, but like, I don't, was it supplying alcohol to minors and just allowing them to have a party there unsupervised? I just don't want to indict anyone for anything that necessarily that they weren't
I just
formally charged with. I don't know which one it was. It might, but so just noting that, because I to me personally, I don't
Yeah.
know what it was, if there was actually an allegation they were physically providing the alcohol or not the adults. I was under the impression that it was a family who had allowed a party to happen
Yeah.
knowingly or something out there, but not necessarily
Well, like I said, I think.
providing the alcohol to minors.
Yeah, you know what, I don't want to get into the details of the case.
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. I
I
just
would
don't
just
want
say
to be
this.
going on the record
yeah.
asserting what
I would
maybe
just
someone
say
did or
this,
didn't do.
it seems like they're good people. It's just that something bad happened. And what happens is when you allow child to drink, you're putting everybody at risk. Not only the child, but you're putting everybody around the kid at risk. So it's just, I think, as a message, and I'd like to see Safe Harbor come in. And, you know, there's also the idea that you won't be invited to parties if you don't party, right? I mean, my best friends gave up alcohol and the guys don't want them to play hockey with him anymore because he doesn't drink. I mean, so I guess as a community and as we have to educate not only our children about why it's important not to drink, and we have to educate the parents as well and let them know that they're putting everybody at risk. But yeah, it's okay that, you know, in Italy, you can have a drink, but in Italy, it's legal. It's not legal here. So I don't want to hear about like parties about that sports teams are having that are drinking, Because if a football team are drinking and it gets back here, we're gonna throw them. I want our football coach not to say, hey, we'll make sure you don't drive drunk. I mean, that's not what I want to hear. I want to hear, he's not on the football team anymore.
Yeah.
He's not on the football team.
Dr. Thomas, I remember, didn't we discuss a future agenda item like this with like safe harbor or something last?
Yeah,
meeting?
absolutely.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but I just want to make sure
Just wanna
everyone
make
knows that the football coach is definitely not.
No, I know that. I get that. I'm not
Stop
specific-
it.
I'm not saying our football coach. I'm just
Yes.
saying, pick any sport. I'm
Yes,
just
yes,
saying
of course.
that is generally what I'm.
I hear you
don't
100%.
want-
I just didn't want people to be.
No, I get that, but I do want to know that I do want the community to know that there's drinking in our school from kids that are teenagers, and that has to stop.
Well, drinking amongst the student population, you're saying, not
Yeah,
in
no,
the school building?
No,
Okay.
no. But also, honestly, I've seen parents, not in this school, because I would say something, but I've seen parents have alcohol on school grounds in other schools. So I haven't seen it here, but I don't know what's in those jugs to begin with. So I just think there needs to be a message out there specifically saying, talking about teenage drinking.
Yeah, agreed.
That's all I'm saying.
Fair.
It's all about education. That's our job, is to educate.
Completely agree.
We need to educate parents on why their kids aren't drinking.
And it's a huge focus of Safe Harbors.
Right, and Safe Harbor wants to
collaboration.
come in and they want to be able to do that. I spoke to Kevin McCarthy
Mm-hmm.
and those folks want to come in here and they want to put messages around the school that it's okay not to drink.
Yeah.
It's okay to say no. That's really, I mean, it's okay not to drink. And that people need to accept that. I mean, that's what I'm talking
I hear you 100%. You're
I'm not- I'm not-
loud and clear.
about. Yeah, and I love our coaches. I'm not.
No, I know you didn't mean that. I just-
Thanks for pointing that out.
Of course.
Thank you, Mr. Kearney, and really, truly very sorry for your family's loss.
Yes.
That's heartbreaking, so sorry. Next, so I'm sorry, we didn't finish. Ms. Leskey, do you have a update from
Nothing
any?
from me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nor do I.
Can I add one thing?
Of course, Mr.
Just in
Carl.
the area of community relations and communications, I was
Yes.
very pleased to see the high school be having a musical this fall.
Yeah,
And that they've selected the award-winning musical Rent. And I think the dates are end of October and early November, so
There.
I think everybody's very excited. This is something we wanted to bring back to the high school. We're very glad to see it here. To have such an accomplished piece of musical art in our school is wonderful.
Thank you, Mr. Carl.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the final section. There are not any topics that were not reasonably anticipated. To my knowledge, nothing was raised prior to the meeting, with me anyway. We do have several minutes to approve.
Maybe if I could just touch on why these
Please,
are.
Mr. Carr.
Why these are here. So as you know, we want to stay on top of the process of giving minutes. So we have a meeting, we create minutes. Thank you again to Kathy and the excellent work she does, and Jennifer and Dr. Sullivan's office. And so we are on top of these. There are a series of minutes here where we are not completely certain that we voted on them. And we think we did, we're not sure we did, but we want to be compliant with the rules. And so we have brought back some older minutes just to make sure that we do this. This is a project we're working on with the town clerk, who has been wonderful to work with on this. So you may have seen some of these. Some of these minutes are before Jen joined us, and some are more current since Jen has been with us. So if anybody has any questions about the minutes, it's likely we have seen these before, but we're just cleaning up the process. From here, once we approve this, it'll go back to Jennifer. Jennifer will work with the town clerk. It will be posted on our website and on the town clerk's website. So this is just housekeeping of the minutes, but please take a few minutes if you have any questions about the minutes.
All right, so thank you, Mr. Carr, and Mr. Carr, this is a Herculean task, so thank you so much for getting all these done, really. This was not, when I was chairperson, this is something that we did not stay on top of as much, and I really appreciate this. As just a member of the committee, thank you.
Of course.
So I'm gonna break down the minute considerations, two separate categories, because some of them are old enough where Ms. Leskey was not yet a member of the committee. So I'm just gonna go through those, the earlier set of minutes. So I'm just gonna go through those first so that Ms. Leskey knows that all of those are the ones where she would abstain as someone that wasn't at the meeting. And those would be the February 1st, 2023 minutes, March 1st, 2023, March 29th, 2023, and May 3rd, 2023. So there's 4 sets of minutes there. And what I would ask is that we just consider those together. We take any questions anyone has. I will note that in flipping through the February 1st minutes, I can see that one of the updates, the School Facilities Committee, when we were talking about presenting the $1.5 million feasibility study issue to the select board. And so it just shows you how long these things take to come to fruition. But anyway, I did not personally see anything that I had any questions about. Does anyone else have any questions? Aside from Ms. Lusky, as I just stated, regarding those minutes, those 4 minutes. February 1st, March 1st, March 29th, and May 3rd. Anyone? I think we could take a motion to approve those minutes all together, those 4 sets of minutes. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Carr. All in favor, Ms. Lusky, you must abstain. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstention? Ms. Lusky? Okay, so that those minutes are approved by a vote of 3 members and 1 abstention. The second group of minutes is the, which Ms. Lusky, you were a member for and may vote. And participate in the discussion, May 17th, 2023, July 10th, 2023, August 9th, 2023, and September 6th, 2023, which probably would have been our last meeting, right?
Yep.
That was.
Right, we were right on.
I
it.
want to
Yeah.
just especially recognize the date of
Love it.
September 6th this year in our packet. I'm very excited about this news.
Yes, exactly, it's amazing. Does anyone have any questions related to the minutes? Okay, seeing no questions or points raised or concerns, is there a motion to approve the May 17th, 2023, July 10th, 2023, August 9th, 2023, and September 6th, 2023 minutes as a group? Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Motion has been made by Mr. Kearney. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Carr. All in favor, voice vote, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries by a vote of 4 members in favor.
And I'll send a note back to Jennifer and the clerk, and we'll get these over to the town and get them posted.
That's terrific, Mr. Carr. Thanks again. Really.
Thank you.
Amazing
Really,
work.
to be honest, it's, we could not do this without Jennifer's help and Dr. Sullivan's office and Kathy, who really does a superb job on
Thank you,
keeping all these
Kathy.
notes. Yeah, and the clerk, we are not alone in the town of Cohasset in terms of minutes, so the clerk has been very diligent and wonderful to work with, and we are really catching up quickly as other groups are in town. These are hard to keep on top of, so.
They are.
we're
Yeah, there's
just glad
volunteer
we're-
boards and people have their own occupations.
We're getting to them, yeah.
Stuff. So, and I know you are an especially busy guy as well, Mr. Carr, so it's amazing, amazing work on your part. All right, future agenda items. Does anyone have any suggestions for future agenda items?
I think I already mentioned.
Yeah, we touched on that last time, actually, so,
Yeah.
and I don't have any. I think we touched on quite a bit last time, quite a few future agenda items. Oh, I guess there were the ones that we raised about the possible spotlights on learning in terms of like, the history curriculum, the new history curriculum and doing in that, maybe involving some students in that or a couple of teachers or something like that. That could be interesting. An interesting way to introduce the concept to the district. Anyone else?
Having Mr. Roberts come in, and I think we talked about that last time.
Yep, that's right, we did.
But I think having an introduction to him and his work and the data that he's collected and worked with so far.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, once he has a chance.
He's also he's instrumental in the curriculum guide review process, which is a big focus right now. So,
Maybe if there's ever time permitting for invited guests, especially prior to the musical, if the teachers that are putting it on or some of the students want to come in and tell us about the musical for a few
Mhm.
minutes, that would be very nice.
The leading cast members, maybe. Okay. That'd be a good spotlight on learning.
Yeah,
The arts, Mr. Kearney is always supportive.
Yeah, I love it.
my one of the thoughts on Mr. Roberts and his presentations eventually would be to present a state of the data periodically throughout the year, as he gets rolling with his
Of course.
job. It was always sort of
That'd be
my
great.
my visions for that, because it gives everybody a comprehensive view of how we're doing and how, and, you know, we're getting there, so.
Is he going to be creating mechanisms for collecting data as well, whether or not that's surveys or just the sort of different points of sort of performance or behavior that you're trends that you're interested in being able to quantify those?
Yes,
Okay.
so right now, I think Dr. Scoggins mentioned that we have some data analysis happening on Friday. He's right now working with each of the principals to do that with the goal of sort of unifying that. But we're also moving into, believe it or not, we're about to launch into our next strategic plan. So we have a phone call tomorrow with the facilitators of that, and Mr. Roberts is going to play a big role in that. And that will be surveys that are going to go out to the whole community regarding social emotional learning, academic needs, a whole variety of subjects. So I guess a long way of saying yes.
Great.
All right.
All right, any other suggested future agenda items? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting? Motion's been made by Ms. Leskey. Is there a second? Motion seconded by Mr. Kearney. All in favor, voice vote aye. All opposed, abstentions. Motion carries by a vote of 4 members. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Yeah, good job.